There's now a quite fashionable phrase in British national security circles that when it comes to technological security, Russia is bad weather, but China is climate change. China is developing a very different version of internet-based technology, much more amenable to state control.
The West must keep pace with China's technology development to prevent it becoming the predominant power in cyberspace. That's the stark warning this morning from the head of the National Cybersecurity Centre, which is part of GCHQ. She says China is determined to get technical supremacy, and that if we don't keep up, we risk China becoming the predominant power in cyberspace. What are the chances of China developing to such a level of technology that they outshine everybody else?
Well, we won't know for some time, and it's likely to be a mixed picture. But I think we are moving away from a period where perhaps for most of this century and the years immediately preceding it, there was a single tech superpower. That was the United States, close ally of the UK, close ally of Western Europe. And, in a sense, when it came to cybersecurity, it was America's internet, and we were trying to stop people cheating on it. There's now a quite fashionable phrase in British national security circles that when it comes to technological security, Russia is bad weather, but China is climate change. China is developing a very different version of internet-based technology, much more amenable to state control, and that's what Lindy Cameron is warning about. That's a real challenge, not just to cybersecurity, but to fundamental economic prosperity and the ability to keep ahead.
And how can we fight that? Because they have a certain amount of money, they have a certain amount of lack of ethics because they're an authoritarian state. So they will push ahead in the direction they push ahead. Is that something that we can combat reasonably?
Well, I think the two technospheres, as some people call them, have different advantages. As you said, China has very deep pockets, it has state planning and so forth, but the West has the lead in many parts of innovation, the free markets, and the quality of the technological leadership of the West is still something that very much empowers us in this space. But there's another point which is quite important about how we get organized, really. There's a point about how we manage to look after our industrial base, and that can be quite difficult in free and open markets where we're not used to competing each other. So, for example, the Prime Minister, when he was campaigning for the leadership of the party, talked about a tech NATO, and I think there are ways in which countries need to learn to cooperate with each other to secure our industrial base.
Here's the thing. I mean, there's a piece in the Times today about how the boss of Google says he's kept up at night on AI because when they do some AI stuff, sometimes things happen that they don't understand themselves, and they wrote all the code for it. And I guess this is another area where technological supremacy, if it's done by an institution which doesn't have much of a regard for human life, take Russia or more likely China, you could have an area where they're pushing the boundaries of technology such where they don't even know how to control what they're creating.
Well, we do need to break this down a little bit. There is quite a lot of quite gloomy and apocalyptic commentary around AI at the moment, but I think that organizations and countries do have agency around this. And I think if you look at, for example, China's contestation of Western supremacy in cyberspace, there isn't actually any evidence that it wants to completely destabilize the entire world order in cyberspace in a way that would damage itself. I think what the head of Google is talking about is what a lot of people are now talking about, is to make sure that we don't actually repeat some of the mistakes we made at the dawn of the internet age. We just unleashed a whole bunch of new technologies without really understanding what they did, where the regulation came later, the safety and security came later. And we really need, when we're looking at our own competitiveness in areas like AI, we really need to make sure that it's done in a way that can enhance, that can carry popular consent. I think that I do see the risk you're getting at, the risk that countries like China, in particular, Russia doesn't have the same technological capability as China in AI by some margin. I can see the risk that you're getting at, but I don't think that that's any more likely to materialize in the near future, and there's still time to get this right.